Goldilocks and the Three Bears. There was once a little girl named Goldilocks who lived in a cheerful cottage near the edge of a beautiful forest. She was 7 years old, with bright golden curls that bounced when she walked, rosy cheeks, and curious green eyes that were always looking for something new and interesting to explore. Goldilocks lived with her parents, who loved her very much and did their best to teach her good manners and kindness. But Goldilocks had one problem that sometimes got her into trouble. She was so curious about everything that she often forgot to think before acting, and she didn't always remember to respect other people's belongings or their privacy. Her mother would often remind her, "Goldilocks, dear, you must always ask before touching things that don't belong to you. And you must never go into someone's home without being invited." Goldilocks would nod and promise to remember, but her curiosity was so strong that these important lessons sometimes slipped right out of her mind when she saw something interesting. Her father would say gently, "Sweetheart, how would you feel if someone came into our home without asking and used your things? It's important to treat others the way you want to be treated." Goldilocks understood what her parents meant, at least she thought she did, but she hadn't really learned the lesson in her heart yet. Sometimes we need to experience things ourselves before we truly understand why rules and respect matter so much. One beautiful sunny morning in early summer, Goldilocks decided to go for a walk in the forest near her home. The sky was bright blue with just a few puffy white clouds drifting by. Birds were singing their cheerful songs in the treetops, and wildflowers dotted the meadow with splashes of purple, yellow, and pink. Her mother packed her a small basket with bread and cheese for lunch and reminded her, "Stay on the path, dear, and don't wander too far. Be home before sunset." Goldilocks promised she would, gave her mother a quick kiss on the cheek, and skipped happily down the path into the forest, swinging her basket and humming a little tune. The forest was lovely and peaceful, with tall trees that created patches of cool shade and sunbeams that filtered through the leaves like golden ribbons. Goldilocks walked along the familiar path, looking at everything around her with wonder. She watched squirrels chase each other up tree trunks, saw a rabbit hop across the path with its cottontail bouncing, and heard a woodpecker tapping somewhere high above. As she walked, she noticed a small path branching off from the main trail, a path she had never seen before. It wound between the trees and seemed to lead deeper into the forest where she had never been. Goldilocks stopped and looked at the new path with great interest. Her mother had told her to stay on the regular path, but this new trail looked so inviting and mysterious. She thought to herself, "I'll just follow it for a little bit, just to see where it goes. I won't go far." So even though a small voice in her head reminded her of her mother's words, Goldilocks turned onto the new path and followed it deeper into the forest. She walked and walked, looking at all the new trees and plants she had never seen before, so absorbed in her exploration that she didn't notice how far she had gone or how much time had passed. After a while, Goldilocks came to a clearing in the forest, and there, sitting in the middle of a circle of tall pine trees, was the most charming little cottage she had ever seen. It was made of honey-colored wood with a thatched roof, flower boxes full of colorful blooms in the windows, and a neat little garden with vegetables growing in tidy rows. Smoke was not coming from the chimney, and the cottage looked quiet and still. Goldilocks's curiosity immediately took over all her thoughts. Who lived in this cottage? What was it like inside? Maybe whoever lived here wouldn't mind if she just took a quick peek. She walked up to the front door and knocked politely. "Hello," she called out. "Is anyone home?" There was no answer, just the sound of birds singing and the breeze rustling through the trees. Goldilocks knocked again, a little louder this time. "Hello. Is anybody here?" Still no answer came from inside the cottage. Goldilocks stood there for a moment, thinking. She knew she should probably just turn around and go back home. The cottage belonged to someone else, and she hadn't been invited inside. But her curiosity was so strong, and the door looked so inviting. She reached out and tried the handle, and to her surprise, the door swung open easily. It wasn't locked at all. Now, Goldilocks should have remembered what her parents had taught her about respecting other people's homes and belongings. She should have closed the door and walked away. But instead she thought to herself, "I'll just peek inside for one quick minute. I won't touch anything." I'll just look around and then leave." So Goldilocks stepped through the doorway into the cottage, not knowing that this decision was about to teach her a very important lesson about respect. Inside, the cottage was cozy and warm, with wooden floors, comfortable furniture, and everything neat and tidy. The first room she entered was a kitchen with a table in the center, and on that table sat 3 bowls of porridge. The porridge was still steaming, which meant it had been made very recently. One bowl was very large, one was medium-sized, and one was quite small. Goldilocks suddenly realized how hungry she was from her long walk. She hadn't eaten her lunch yet, and that porridge smelled absolutely delicious. Without stopping to think about whether it was right or wrong, she walked up to the table to try some. First, Goldilocks picked up the spoon from the largest bowl and took a big bite of porridge. "Ouch!" she cried, pulling the spoon from her mouth quickly. "This porridge is much too hot." She set that spoon down and moved to the medium-sized bowl. She took a spoonful from that one and tasted it. "Yuck," she said, making a face. "This porridge is much too cold." Finally, she tried the smallest bowl of porridge. She took a taste, and her face lit up with delight. This porridge is just right," she said happily. And because it tasted so good and she was so hungry, Goldilocks ate the entire bowl of porridge until there wasn't a single drop left. She didn't think about the fact that this porridge belonged to someone else, or that someone might be sad to come home and find their breakfast eaten. After finishing the porridge, Goldilocks felt full and a bit tired from her long walk. She noticed that the cottage had a cozy living room with 3 chairs sitting near the fireplace. One chair was very large and looked sturdy, one was medium-sized with cushions, and one was small and delicate with pretty carvings on it. Goldilocks thought it would be nice to sit down and rest for just a moment before heading home. First, she climbed up onto the largest chair. But as soon as she sat down, she frowned. "This chair is much too hard," she complained, wiggling uncomfortably. So she climbed down and moved to the medium-sized chair. She sat down in it and bounced a little. "This chair is much too soft," she said, sinking down into the cushions too much. Finally, Goldilocks tried the smallest chair. When she sat down in it, she smiled. "Ah, this chair is just right," she said contentedly. But Goldilocks was heavier than the little chair was made to hold, and she had been rocking back and forth in it, enjoying how comfortable it was when suddenly, crack! The chair broke apart beneath her, and Goldilocks tumbled onto the floor with pieces of the chair scattered around her. She sat up, rubbing her bottom where she had landed, and looked at the broken chair with guilt beginning to creep into her thoughts. She had broken something that didn't belong to her. But instead of staying to try to fix it or leave a note explaining what happened, Goldilocks got up and decided to explore more of the cottage, pushing her uncomfortable feelings aside. She found a staircase leading upstairs and climbed it, her curiosity still stronger than her sense of what was right. Upstairs, she discovered a bedroom with 3 beds lined up in a row. One bed was very large with tall posts, one was medium-sized with a thick quilt, and one was small with a soft-looking pillow. By now, Goldilocks was feeling quite sleepy from her walk, her full stomach, and all the excitement. She thought to herself, "I'll just lie down for a tiny rest, just a few minutes, and then I'll go home." First, she climbed onto the largest bed and lay down. "This bed is much too hard," she said, feeling the firm mattress beneath her. She rolled off and went to the medium-sized bed. She lay down there and frowned. "This bed is much too soft," she complained, sinking deeply into the feather mattress. Finally, Goldilocks climbed into the smallest bed. She snuggled under the covers and sighed happily. "This bed is just right," she murmured. And before she knew it, her eyes grew heavy, and she fell fast asleep right there in someone else's bed, still wearing her shoes and with her golden curls spread across the pillow. She didn't think about who the bed belonged to or how they might feel finding a stranger sleeping in it. She was comfortable and tired, and that was all that mattered to her at that moment. Now, while Goldilocks was sleeping peacefully upstairs, the family who lived in the cottage was returning home from their morning walk in the forest. This cottage belonged to 3 bears. Papa Bear, who was large and strong with a deep voice. Mama Bear, who was medium-sized with a kind face, and Baby Bear, who was small and sweet with bright curious eyes much like Goldilocks herself. They were a loving family who took good care of their home, and they had left that morning after making their breakfast porridge to let it cool while they enjoyed the beautiful weather outside. The three bears walked up to their cottage, talking and laughing together, not expecting anything unusual. Papa Bear opened the front door, and they all walked into the kitchen, ready to enjoy their breakfast. But Papa Bear stopped suddenly and looked at the table with his big eyes growing wide. "Someone's been eating my porridge," he said in his big, gruff voice, looking at his bowl where the spoon had been moved and porridge had been tasted. Mama Bear looked at her bowl and said in her medium-sized voice, "Someone's been eating my porridge too." Then Baby Bear looked at his bowl, and his little eyes filled with tears. "Someone's been eating my porridge," he said in his small, sad voice. "And they've eaten it all up." The three bears looked at each other in confusion and concern. Who had come into their home? Why would someone eat their food without asking? They walked into the living room to investigate further, and there Papa Bear saw his chair. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," he said in his deep voice, noticing the cushion was pressed down. Mama Bear looked at her chair and said, "Someone's been sitting in my chair too." Then Baby Bear saw his little chair, and when he looked at it, his tears spilled over. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," he cried, "and they've broken it all to pieces." He picked up the pieces of his favorite little chair, and his heart felt very sad. He had loved that chair, and now it was ruined. The bears were now quite alarmed. Someone had been in their home, eating their food and breaking their belongings. They climbed the stairs carefully to check the rest of their cottage. In the bedroom, Papa Bear looked at his bed. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," he said in his big surprised voice, seeing the covers rumpled. Mama Bear looked at her bed and said, "Someone's been sleeping in my bed too." Then Baby Bear looked at his little bed, and he gasped. "Someone's been sleeping in my bed," he said in wonder. "And she's still there." All three bears gathered around the small bed and looked down at Goldilocks, who was still fast asleep with her golden curls spread on Baby Bear's pillow. The bears weren't angry exactly, but they were confused and concerned. Who was this little girl? Why had she come into their home without asking? Papa Bear cleared his throat loudly, and the sound was enough to wake Goldilocks from her sleep. Her eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then she saw three bears standing right beside the bed, looking down at her, and her eyes flew wide open with shock and fear. Goldilocks sat up quickly, her heart pounding. She had never seen real bears so close before, and even though they didn't look mean, she suddenly realized what a terrible mistake she had made. She had gone into someone's home without permission, eaten their food, broken their chair, and fallen asleep in their bed. She had done exactly what her parents had always told her not to do, and now she felt ashamed and frightened. Without saying a word, Goldilocks jumped out of the bed, ran past the surprised bears, rushed down the stairs, flew out the front door, and ran as fast as her legs could carry her back through the forest toward her own home. She ran and ran until her sides hurt and she was out of breath, finally stopping when she reached the familiar main path. Her heart was still beating fast, but now it wasn't just from running. It was from the awful feeling in her stomach when she realized how wrong she had been. She thought about Baby Bear's sad little face when he saw his broken chair and his eaten porridge. She thought about how the bears must have felt coming home to find their belongings used and damaged by a stranger. And she finally, truly understood what her parents had been trying to teach her all along about respecting other people and their things. When Goldilocks got home, she ran straight to her mother and burst into tears. Between sobs, she told her mother everything that had happened. How she had left the main path, found the cottage, gone inside without permission, eaten the porridge, broken the chair, and fallen asleep in the bed. Her mother listened to the whole story, holding Goldilocks close and stroking her golden curls gently. When Goldilocks finished, her mother said softly, "I'm glad you're safe, my dear. And I'm glad you're telling me the truth about what happened. But do you understand now why it's so important to respect other people and their belongings?" Goldilocks nodded, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "Yes, Mama," she said in a small voice. "I do understand now. I hurt that little bear's feelings, and I broke his chair, and I ate his breakfast. I didn't think about how my actions would affect someone else. I only thought about what I wanted." Her mother hugged her tighter. "That's a very important lesson to learn, sweetheart. When we respect others and their things, we show them that we care about their feelings and their property. When we take things without asking or go places we're not invited, we're being selfish and inconsiderate. You made a mistake today, but the most important thing is that you understand why it was wrong and that you learn from it." The next day, Goldilocks asked her father to help her make things right. Together, they went to the village carpenter and asked him to make a new chair for Baby Bear, even better than the one Goldilocks had broken. It took several days and used up all of Goldilocks's saved allowance, but she didn't mind because she wanted to fix what she had done wrong. When the chair was ready, beautiful and sturdy with pretty carvings, Goldilocks and her father walked back through the forest to the bear's cottage. Goldilocks's hands shook as she knocked on the door, but she knew this was the right thing to do. When the bears opened the door and saw Goldilocks standing there with her father and the new chair, they were very surprised. Goldilocks looked at them with sincere, sorry eyes and said, "I came to apologize for what I did. I'm very sorry I came into your home without permission, ate Baby Bear's porridge and broke his chair. I know now that what I did was wrong and disrespectful. I made this new chair to replace the one I broke, and I promise I will never ever do anything like that again." Her voice was quiet but honest, and the bears could see she truly meant every word. Baby Bear's eyes grew wide with joy when he saw the beautiful new chair. Papa Bear and Mama Bear looked at each other, then at Goldilocks, and they could see that she had learned her lesson. "We accept your apology, Goldilocks," said Mama Bear kindly. "Everyone makes mistakes, especially when they're young and learning. What matters most is that you understand what you did wrong and that you're trying to make it right. That takes courage." Baby Bear hugged his new chair happily and said, "Thank you, Goldilocks. I forgive you." And even though Goldilocks had done something wrong, the bears saw that she was a good child who had learned an important lesson, and they became friends that day. From then on, Goldilocks remembered the lesson she had learned about respecting others and their belongings. She always asked permission before touching things that weren't hers. She never went into anyone's home without being invited. And whenever she saw something interesting that belonged to someone else, she remembered how Baby Bear had felt when he found his porridge eaten and his chair broken, and she made the choice to be respectful and considerate. She had learned that respect isn't just a rule to follow. It's a way of showing others that we care about them and value their feelings. And that lesson stayed with her for the rest of her life, making her a kinder, more thoughtful person who understood that treating others the way we want to be treated is one of the most important things we can do.